Most people think disrespect is loud, an insult, a raised voice, a public humiliation. But real disrespect is far more dangerous because it rarely announces itself. It arrives quietly, in pauses, in tone, in small patterns you dismiss as, maybe I'm overthinking. And that is exactly why it works. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, have you ever felt disrespected, but couldn't prove it? Because by the end of this video, you'll never miss these signals again. Disrespect almost never starts with open attack. It starts with tiny violations so small your mind excuses them. Someone cuts you off, talks over your sentence, forgets your opinion, delays their reply, but answers everyone else. One moment feels random, but repeated moments create a pattern. And that pattern reveals something brutal. They don't fear losing your value. Here's the first hidden pattern: selective attention. When people respect you, they register your presence. When they don't, they only acknowledge you when it benefits them. Imagine someone in a family discussion ignoring every idea you share, then repeating the same idea 5 minutes later, like it came from someone else. That's not forgetfulness. That's status theft. And this is where most people make their first mistake. They explain more, they become louder, they try harder to be understood. But disrespect doesn't come from misunderstanding. It comes from perceived weakness. The more desperately you chase acknowledgement, the more you teach people that your worth depends on their approval. Comment. Honestly, have you ever over-explained just to be taken seriously? The second pattern is disguised disrespect through humor. This one is lethal because it hides behind a smile, a sarcastic comment, a joke at your expense, a relax, I was kidding after testing your boundaries. In a group, they watch what you tolerate. If you laugh while feeling hurt, they learn something dangerous. Your silence is negotiable. Mentally weak people ignore this because they fear conflict. But mentally strong people understand a brutal truth. Every unchallenged joke becomes permission. If someone mocks you once and faces no consequence, the next insult comes easier. Then bolder, then public. What begins as a harmless comment often becomes a pattern of social positioning. And the next signal is even more dangerous. The third hidden pattern is strategic delay. Respect responds. Disrespect controls access. When someone values you, they don't always answer instantly, but their energy stays consistent. When they don't, they keep you waiting on purpose. Imagine messaging someone important after helping them and they vanish until they need something again. That delay isn't busyness, it's hierarchy management. This is how subtle disrespect creates addiction. You start chasing clarity. Maybe they're busy. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I should check in again. And suddenly, you're not in a relationship, friendship, or alliance. You're in a power trap. The person with inconsistent attention often controls the emotional weather. And people who control your emotional weather usually control your behavior too. The fourth pattern is interruption without consequence. Watch this carefully in real life. People reveal their respect level by what they allow you to finish. If someone repeatedly cuts your sentence short, changes the topic, or redirects attention the moment you speak, they're not just being rude. They're announcing, without words, that your voice ranks below theirs in the room. Most people react emotionally here and lose. They snap, defend themselves, raise their voice. But the moment you react without control, you give the interrupter exactly what they wanted. Proof that they can move your emotions with minimal effort. Real power is colder, slower, more surgical. Tell me in the comments, when someone cuts you off, do you stay calm or explode? The fifth hidden pattern is public warmth, private coldness. This one confuses almost everyone. In front of others, they smile, praise you, act friendly, but in private, distance, dismissiveness, indifference. Why? Because their respect was never for you. It was for the audience. Some people don't protect your dignity. They perform politeness only when witnesses are present. This is where people get trapped by illusion. They say, but they're so nice to me around others. Exactly. Because image matters to manipulators more than truth. If someone only respects you when an audience exists, that's not respect. That's reputation management. And the cruelest part? Victims often defend the very person who quietly devalues them behind closed doors. The sixth pattern is boundary testing disguised as need. Some people never ask for respect directly. They measure how much of yours they can consume. A small favor becomes a repeated demand. A quick request becomes expectation. Imagine someone calling late at night, always needing help, always taking your time, but disappearing when you need the same energy back. Disrespect often wears the mask of dependency. That's why kind people miss it. They think, they need me. But need is not the same as value. Many people use reliable hearts like emotional furniture, always available, always useful, never truly appreciated. The moment you stop overgiving, their attitude changes. And that change exposes the truth you kept avoiding. The seventh pattern is the absence of accountability. Respectful people correct themselves when they cross a line. Disrespectful people minimize, deflect, or reverse blame. You're too sensitive. You misunderstood. You always make things dramatic. Notice what's happening here. The issue isn't their behavior anymore. The issue becomes your reaction. And that psychological flip is pure manipulation. This is one of the clearest signs you're not being respected. You're being managed. When someone can hurt you, dismiss your pain, and then make you defend your emotions, they're not confused. They're trained. People like this survive because others keep explaining themselves instead of observing the pattern. And once you start seeing patterns instead of excuses, your entire social world changes. Now here's the dangerous part nobody talks about. Disrespect becomes a pattern because we reward it emotionally. We keep staying, keep explaining, keep forgiving, keep waiting for the good version of the person to return. But people rarely change when your tolerance protects them from consequences. Comment below, what's harder for you, spotting disrespect or walking away from it? So what do mentally strong people do differently? They stop reacting to moments and start judging patterns. One rude comment may be stress. 2 interruptions may be coincidence. But repeated selective disrespect is never accidental. Strong people don't need dramatic proof. They trust behavioral repetition. Because patterns reveal intent long before words ever confess it. And when they see the pattern, they do not beg for change. They reduce access, shorter replies, less availability, less emotional exposure. Strong people understand a painful law of life. Respect grows where access becomes conditional. If someone only values you when you're always available, they never valued you. They valued your convenience. This is where weak people get confused. They think boundaries are rude, silence is harsh, distance is mean. But boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are information. They tell the world how your dignity must be handled. People who punish you for boundaries were usually benefiting from your lack of them. And that truth stings more than most people can admit. There's also a darker truth. Sometimes people disrespect you not because you're weak, but because you've been too accessible, too forgiving, too predictable. Human psychology is brutal. What is always available is often undervalued. What costs nothing is often ignored. And this is why some of the kindest people slowly become invisible in their own relationships. If this is hitting hard, good, because awareness is painful before it becomes power. Most people don't lose respect in one catastrophic moment. They lose it through tiny, tolerated betrayals of their own standards. A laugh when they felt insulted. A silence when they should have paused the conversation. A second chance given after the truth was already obvious. So let me give you the rule that changes everything. Never ask, did they mean to disrespect me? Ask instead, what pattern does their behavior create inside me? Confusion, anxiety, self-doubt, hyper-awareness. If someone repeatedly creates those states, their intention matters less than the result. And the result is already telling you what your pride refuses to accept. This is why high-value people don't obsess over explanations. They observe consistency. They study emotional impact. They watch what happens after they say no. Because the fastest way to expose false respect is simple: deny access, refuse the joke, pause the conversation, decline the favor. The mask often falls the moment convenience disappears. And when the mask falls, don't panic, don't argue, don't chase closure. Closure is often just another trap to keep you emotionally invested. Once the pattern is visible, your job is not to convince them to respect you. Your job is to stop offering your presence where your dignity is discounted. That's the move most people fear, and the one that changes everything. Here's the twist nobody expects. The people who notice disrespect earliest are not always the strongest. Sometimes they're just the most wounded. But the strongest? They're the ones who stop doubting what they see. Awareness without action becomes suffering. Awareness with boundaries becomes power. And that difference decides whether life shapes you, or you finally shape your life. So the hidden pattern of disrespect is not volume, it's repetition, it's emotional confusion, it's selective attention, disguised jokes, strategic delay, interruptions, public warmth with private coldness, boundary testing, and blame reversal. None of these alone seem deadly. Together, they form a map. And once you see the map, you stop getting lost in people. Now, ask yourself one brutal question. Who in your life creates this pattern? A friend? A partner? A sibling? A colleague? Someone charming in public, but exhausting in private? Don't ignore the name that instantly appeared in your mind. That name arrived too fast to be random. Drop a single word in the comments. Seen. If this video exposed someone, because once you've seen it, you can never unsee it. And that is both the curse and the gift of psychological awareness. You lose innocence, but you gain clarity. You stop begging for respect and start becoming the kind of person whose absence teaches people what your presence was worth. That is not revenge. That is silent authority. And if you want the truth, most people never notice the hidden pattern because they're too busy trying to be liked. But respected people are different. They don't chase comfort. They study behavior. They protect energy. They trust patterns over promises. And once you learn that, social life becomes less emotional, less confusing, and far more dangerous. In your favor. If this video changed how you see someone, then don't leave quietly. Comment the word pattern below, because I want to know how many people just had their eyes open today. And if you're ready, the next video goes even deeper into the exact psychological behaviors manipulators use to make kind people doubt themselves without ever raising their voice. So don't just watch, learn, apply, evolve, because most channels tell you what happened. Here, we teach you how human power really works beneath the surface. Subscribe now, because the next time someone tries to disrespect you quietly, you won't just notice it. You'll know exactly how to destroy its power before it destroys yours.